Hi guys, welcome to my coffee show. My name is Jack and today I have a big one for you. Today we are going to compare niche duo with DF83V. Wow, yes! What am I going to do today? First, I will talk about those two grinders, similarities and differences. And then we're also going to do the taste test, the blind tasting as we normally do. 2 cups on the rotating plate. Underneath each cup there is a letter N for niche, D for DF83. And by the end I will tell you which one I think is better and why. So if you are as excited as I visibly am, definitely click like, sit tight and enjoy. Niche duo, I bought it last year. Obviously everybody knows niche Zero, one of the most popular single dose grinders in the previous years. Niche duo, flat burr grinder, big burrs. I was expecting it to be a big success. The grinder itself, it looks like a bigger version of niche Zero. The design outside is pretty much identical. It weighs around 5-ish kg, made mostly out of metal. You've got those wooden accents, you've got a nice catching cup. Well, everything that we really know from niche Zero you can find in the niche duo. The switch on the side, the cable, the electric wire that you can hide inside. The look, some people love it, some people hate it. I'm kind of in between. It looks okay. On the inside, 83mm flat maze burrs, and you can get niche duo with 2 sets of burrs. One is for espresso, one would be for the pour over. I would strongly recommend, by the way, if you are going for this grinder, go for 2 sets of burrs. Why? Because, and that's probably the only innovation, the only exciting thing about this grinder is how easy it is to swap those burrs. So you get those 2 burr carriers and it only takes less than 60 seconds to swap one burr for another. It's slightly trickier to calibrate the grinder, but it is doable. On the inside you've got a DC engine, 130 watts of power, 530 RPMs, that's a set RPM so you cannot control that. And the grinder with 2 sets of burrs costs £780. Yes, it is a pleasant grinder to use, but what I don't like about it is very slow. Even though the burrs are big, it takes long time to grind for, especially for espresso. And another thing that I don't like here, it's kind of a boring. We've been waiting for a new niche for so many years. I was expecting something really awesome, something really special. Talking about the special and unusual, let me introduce you to DF83V. Big thank you to Joe from Espresso Outlet for sending me this awesome grinder. I will put his links in the description. He supports the coffee community a lot, so let's show him some love. Grinder itself, I mean, I like the look. Some people criticize it. I like the unusual look of this grinder. It weighs 9 kg, so slightly heavier. Also built mostly out of metal. You got nice magnetically attached catching cup. You got magnetically attached chute, on and off switches on the side. As the name suggests, it comes with 83mm burrs. You get 2 sets of burrs. One is for espresso, one for pour over. Both are DLC burrs with diamond-like carbon coating. Those are Chinese-made burrs. The engine, 680 watts of power, that's also DC brushless DC motor. The huge advantage of this grinder is that regulated RPM, you can find it on the side, and it ranges between 1600 and 300. You rotate the knob and you change it by 100. At the beginning I was skeptical about the regulated RPMs, but now I can see the point. Yes, they can change the final product, both espresso and the pour over. If you buy it from Espresso Outlet, I think the price right now is around $800, so a very competitive price. You probably need to pay extra if you want 2 sets of burrs. What I love about this grinder, I mean, I like the look, I like the excitement I feel each time I use this grinder. It is extremely fast. I like the regulated RPMs. I like the blower. That might be controversial, but I like grinders with the blower. What I don't like about this grinder, I mentioned a few things in my initial review, you can check it there. I mentioned that it smells of paint, so now I don't really smell it anymore. I don't like those 2 switches on the side. I would prefer one on the side, maybe one on the back. The big switch, I like the look of the metal, but I don't like the look of the rubber outside. When the grinder is on a standby, there is that buzzing noise. I mean, it's not annoying, it's not very loud, but it's something noticeable. Changing of the burrs on this grinder is probably as easy as on any other grinder, but not as easy as on a niche duo. But what is very easy is the calibration of this grinder. Some people don't like the look of the grind indicator. Again, for me it looks okay. I will quickly show you the workflow. Let's listen to the noise they make without any coffee in. DF83 is on the top speed. Now, when we put the coffee in, I'm going to use 18 grams of coffee on the espresso settings. I always use a hot start on most of my grinders, pretty much all of them apart from niche grinders where hot start, although technically possible, would be more difficult. The grinder on, you put the beans in. 3 seconds! I've never had a grinder that can grind so fast. Niche Duo, you drop the beans in, you shut the cover, you turn the grinder on. The noise probably less loud than with DF83V, but it takes forever. 25, 28 seconds. Now, what if we lower the RPMs on DF83 to 500 to match Niche Duo? That's, by the way, will be the RPM that I'm going to use for today's test. 12 seconds, so it's still twice as fast as Niche Duo. Now, people always say, oh, the workflow, the niche workflow is so much better. Why? I don't get it. I mean, what's so different? The workflow is exactly the same. Is it about using the bellow? I mean, you just tap it a few times. You don't need a degree to do that. Okay, I've been talking a lot. Now let's brew some coffee. Let's do a pour over. We're going to use this Fried Hats coffee roasters from Amsterdam, and we should taste creamy, tropical cocktail and funk. If that's the flavor notes that you like, you should consider this coffee very funky indeed. You will see the very simple recipe somewhere on the screen. Well, let's pour it. Okay, and 2 cups are ready. I will choose one at random, taste it, choose another one, taste it, wash my mouth in between. Okay, I've been testing, not an easy choice. So I'm getting that funkiness in both of the cups. This cup, possibly slightly more of that funkiness, but also I'm getting some bitterness in the background, like a bitter aftertaste, which slightly spoils this cup. This cup, I'm getting slightly cleaner taste and slightly crispier. No bitterness, but a bit less of the funkiness, so difficult choice. If it wasn't for that bitterness here, this cup would win, but I have to go for this one because the flavor notes are cleaner and overall more pleasant. Narrowly today, but the cup that won pour over is... what is it? Well, it's DF83V. I was expecting win from DF83 today, but I was expecting it to be more obvious. In my cup, I'm looking for few things. I'm looking for what satisfies myself, but I also want the cup to showcase the flavor notes that are promised on the pack. Today, probably Niche gave me a little bit better picture overall, but still I got a cleaner taste from DF83, and that's why I went for that today. Now it's time to drink some espresso. I want espresso, you want to see the results? We're going to use La Marzocco Liva style profile. On this end I will be using this coffee from St. Martin's Coffee Roasters. This is the coffee from Rwanda with the flavor notes of rich caramel, fresh citrus and black tea. Well, let's do it! Okay, and 2 cups are ready. I managed to dial them in eventually to the perfection. I will take a sip of each, choosing them at random. I will wash my mouth in between and then I will tell you my final conclusions. There are differences here. This cup gives me more clarity. There is less body here and the notes are, well, I can look for that caramel, I can look for the citrusy flavors, I can look for that black tea as well. There is a separation of notes. Now in this cup, I'm getting more body, better texture of the shot. The flavor notes are mixed together, so it's difficult for me to say which one I'm tasting. There is some sweetness, so I say caramel, some sourness later on. So depending on what I'm looking for in my coffee and which coffee I use, I would choose a different cup. The first one, if I was looking for clarity, yes, I would go for that one, but there is less harmony over there. This shot, even though I struggle to distinguish the separation of notes, the overall pleasantness is higher, and therefore I'm choosing this cup. And the cup that won Espresso Challenge is... what is it? It's niche. Wow, I honestly, I was not expecting those kind of results. Guys, if you are still here, definitely click like, subscribe to the channel, plenty more things coming. It took me like a week to record this video. So my final conclusions here. If we are talking just about the taste of coffee, both grinders really good. You should be happy with both of them. For the pour over, and I've done many pour overs. If I did 10 cups of pour over, 6 times out of 10 I would choose DF83V over niche. Now for the espresso, it all depends on which coffee you use. If you are going for the medium or darker roast coffees, if you like body, if you are not a fan of clarity in your cup, then niche duo can give you a very nice, very satisfying cup. If on the other hand you like fruity coffees, if you like lighter roast coffees, I would recommend DF83V. What I also did, I ran the same coffee on DF83V, but I changed RPMs to 1600, and that gave me a little bit more body. It reduced the clarity a little bit, and with this coffee the shot suddenly became much more enjoyable. If you are planning to have only one grinder, and if you think about having maybe 3 espresso shots and 3 pour overs a day, probably niche duo would be a better choice for you, because here you can swap those burrs really easily. You can have, I don't know, cast and multi-purpose or high uniformity, and yes, you can kind of juggle in between of them, and that's a huge advantage of this grinder. In every other case, I would strongly recommend to take DF83V. It's a grinder on a completely different level. Modern, good looking, at least to myself. Faster. The quality, apart from those few things that we mentioned at the beginning, the quality seems better. It's one of the few grinders in the recent years that I really got excited about. Niche duo, if it was introduced 2 years ago, that would be an instant hit. But nowadays, it seems a little bit outdated. It's not a bad grinder. Don't take me wrong. If you choose it, you should be happy. But DF83V seems like almost like an endgame grinder, while niche duo is kind of still middle range grinder in my humble opinion. Now I'm sure that the niche people are watching to this video, so my appeal to you is, we love you, we still love you, so please change something, please innovate, because if you do nothing, in the next few years there won't be a niche for you on the market. You see, the competition is fierce, so time to up your game by a notch or two. My few recommendations here. We all know that DF is going into that 98mm maybe in the next year or two. Think about that. Niche endgame grinder. Another thing, maybe niche Zero Ultra with bigger conical burrs. And the last one, something that would be very interesting to me, would be a hybrid grinder. Not that many hybrid grinders on the market, so something with conical and flat burrs in one grinder. Now in the comments, if you own niche duo, please let me know what you think about this grinder. Are you happy with your choice? Are you happy with the grinder? Are you guys planning to get DF83V? I'm recording it at the end of January, so it should be available in the next month or two. But for today, thank you very much for watching. My name is Jack, this is my coffee show, and hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you, bye!